on the medical staff who's really made a difference in the last 20 months. In the 80s, when I came to Grandview, I had, in the ER as an emergency physician, I had a tech, young guy, very clever, great tech. He was going to go to medical school, which he went on to do. He went to Penn, then he did an Abington residency, and then he did a cardiology fellowship at Hershey. And then he came back to Grandview. I would describe it in a mildly disruptive fashion, in that he started his own cardiology practice, along with Dave Travis, that went on to be ATC, and they really built that practice out of blood, sweat, and tears for this community. They were in here 24/7 for many, many, many years. And it is the practice that we know today, which is an employed practice of the organization. And I guess you all know I'm talking about Todd Haldenfer. He's gone on to be a leader in so many ways, pharmacy, therapeutics, key one. And then as COVID broke on the scene, Mike Prasto and Todd and I became the three leads, the medical leads for the COVID pandemic. And I don't think this group has any idea how much time we spent together, virtually and physically, and how much time we still spend together, virtually and physically, arguing out into the night. What does this piece of evidence mean? What does that piece of evidence mean? It might not surprise you that Todd and I sometimes come at things from different perspectives. But we made a pact a few years ago that we would be, behind closed doors, we would be very honest with each other in terms of what each of us is doing well, what each of us is doing not so well. And I value that beyond words. I think I'd just like to end with one story. Todd headed up the search committee, which was huge, really taught me, taught himself, taught all of us that we need to partner with people throughout this organization. We need to partner with engineers, we need to partner with dietary, we need to partner with environmental services. We are a team. And those relationships were forged with Todd's leadership. A few years ago, not that many, Todd had an elderly patient who, for clinical reasons, needed a soft diet. And the man would not eat except his wife's food. She, despite her best efforts, could not macerate the food to the point that it met the criteria for soft diet. So Todd told the wife, "Bring me your food." And she did. And he had it blended and had it for this man. And these are the kinds of things that Todd does quietly behind the scenes. Violate some standard somewhere. But anyway, with that, I want to invite Todd up and thank him so much. Friday after work and just said, "Hey, you okay?" And at times vice versa. So thank you.
I'm supposed to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, would you like a microphone? A warning would have been nicer.
It's a surprise.
I'll remind you that Tuesday night, 7 is the open forum. Monique Carey. And I remind you that Dan has things to spend money on for the hospital. He listed that in that commentary too. I don't know, I think one of the things that I found coolest about COVID was the search committee, and I give Julie and a lot of people here a lot of credit for that. But I think the very first meeting at the search committee, we sat down and said, we're all on an even playing field. Nobody's opinion is better or worse than someone else's, and all ideas are reasonable for us to talk about, and don't feel bad if we throw them out, and don't get too excited if we accept them. And always remember that the decision we make Today, when we leave the committee room, may change in an hour. And that happens sometimes in 5 minutes after we left the room. But the willingness to change and be fast, and be mobile, and not to have egos in the room, help. And a lot of those things that we had ideas of then now occur just in the flow of the day. So I think it's something that taught us that the way we work together is not by vertically integrating in the hospital, but by horizontally integrating and consider ourselves all equals in the team and the process of what we do. We all just have different roles in that thing, and I think that's how we're going to move forward as an institution, and I include that horizontal nature to our outpatient world. And Keith and I were texting, during these things as we always do, and hearing the presentation from Penn and from Kevin and from orthopedics and trauma and all those things, and I said, I texted Keith, I said, the hospital provides the facilities, they provide the services, the abilities, the equipment, and top-notch things like that, but that things like the IDN and the primary care network provide the patients. And we need to learn how to connect those two, between all the outpatient sides and us as an institution supplying the ability for all those things. And one thing Jane heard me say about 1,000 times in the last 15 years about trying to grow our community was that the single most important metric for our health system is outpatient office visits. And I don't know if you heard what Kevin said today. I didn't tell him that. I didn't set him up for that, just to be clear. But I think that is, and I think the value, our institution on the Hill there is to provide the ability to do all those things. And we need to make sure that we support our entire community across the spectrum to be able to create the patients and to create communication. I think the biggest thing that we're trying to push with, again, the open forum that Hal and helping to help get all the primary care together is to try and now connect those two. We can build the idea in the primary care network and we can build the facilities, but we really need to have ways that we can facilitate, communicate, build relationships, build culture so we can actually, use all those things and grow it. And I think we can do that here. But thanks, and thank you, Jane. Thanks, Doug, and thanks everybody that made it.